Is your small business growing? That's the question we address right here on the Grow Your Biz Show. It's where we interview strategic entrepreneurs who inform and inspire you on your solopreneur or small company journey. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Grow Your Biz Show. Hello and welcome to episode number 109 of the Grow Your Biz Show. I'm your host, Paul Madsen, and also the founder of GrowMedia.com. Richard, Marjorie, GrowMedia.com helps small businesses to tell their story through the strategic social media videos that we create together. That's what we do, and we also do it right here with KPAO's TV studio, Omaha, Nebraska, and welcome to the program. Marjorie, good to meet you. Say hi, again. Yes. And Richard, good to see you again. I've met you before, but whatever. So Marjorie and Richard are back for a second segment, which is wonderful. Last week we talked about podcasting and what it can do for you and what it is, and just some basic entry-level stuff about how to get started in it. Before we do that, I want to ask, Marjorie, what business are you in? What benefits do you provide for your customers?
Yes, well, we are your one-stop shop for creating your podcast to help promote your business, hype your creative idea, or share your story. Wonderful,
wonderful. One-stop shop. And so Weberized is your company, and it's a podcast studio and a whole lot more, right, Richard?
Yes, it is. Well, it started off as a digital media services company,
okay,
which Margie founded
okay.
initially. We added a podcasting arm of it about 10 months ago, and that's we've seen that grow into what we started off in the basement of our home,
like most small businesses.
Like most small businesses, and we've grown that into our own studio.
And you have a studio and an office now. Where
yes.
is that?
The Mastercraft Building.
Mastercraft Building, which is where, in case some don't know?
11th and Nicholas, roughly.
Okay, kind of a
north downtown.
North downtown.
Right, in the Millworks Common district there.
Right, yeah, lots of innovative companies up that way, isn't it? It's a pretty cool place. I haven't been to your studio, but I'm going to come now. So great. Well, tell me, before we start talking more about the nuts and bolts of podcasting, why are you in this business?
We are in this business because we are passionate about storytelling and helping others tell their story.
People need a platform to express their ideas, they express their thoughts, they have very interesting stories to tell, and we want to be able to offer that to people who don't have the means of the facilities to do it.
Awesome. So you're giving a voice to maybe the voiceless almost, or helping them get there. And
helping them get there, absolutely.
That's cool. And this show will be a start on that direction. Before we do jump into the nuts and bolts again, would you please tell me, there's a lot of options out there for getting your message out today. Just think of 5 or 10 years ago what options there were for people to tell their story. Not nearly as many, right?
Right.
Well, since there's a bunch now, please tell me, what makes Weberized different or better than some of the other options?
It's our background.
Okay.
We have a very extensive background in media production. We have worked a number of years in TV news production. We have a background in telling stories, and that, I think, is what sets us apart from any other company out there.
And by television production, you mean big league stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we both worked in news from markets as small as Sioux City, Iowa, and as big as Orlando, Florida.
Wow, okay. That's some major media markets in Orlando and some minor ones in Sioux City, but...
And here in Omaha.
And Omaha, Nebraska, kind of in the middle there, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. And what did you do for the news stations?
So I was a digital content producer.
Okay.
What I grew into, and I started as a production tech, and then went over to the assignment desk.
Does that mean getting coffee and running paper back and forth?
No, I never had to do that. Although running scripts, definitely,
yeah,
like on deadline.
You got the clipboard and the file folder.
Watch out for the water fountain
situation. I remember a scene in, I don't know if you're old enough to have seen this show, a movie called Broadcast
That's
News.
what I was referring
And they're running, and someone pulls a drawer out, and they go underneath.
Sure. Yep. Yeah.
That was you? And not spilling the coffee the whole time.
To a certain extent, for those last-minute scripts.
Yeah.
Our production system primarily, starting off, you're running cameras, you're learning how to do audio, you're learning how to edit video.
Tape to tape, not the nonlinear that we
Oh,
do
well,
today.
that was years ago. That's not even a thing anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, and so I guess what I'm hearing through all these stories relating to broadcast news, do they make you watch that in your first day of news job?
In college, yeah.
Okay,
they did.
gotcha. At any rate, what I'm hearing is your backgrounds are what you're bringing to this business of yours that pretty much nobody can duplicate.
Right. We have special experiences that, we've learned things that maybe someone who came up through a different path
Right.
wouldn't know.
Somebody, and I mean, I've talked to people even on the show who have worked for marketing agencies and ad agencies, and they're maybe copywriters and things like that. They're great in their own right of how to tell a story too. However, your backgrounds together, I see as a real asset to really helping your customers tell a story.
Well, there's a lot of companies out there that that have the facility. You go in, you record, and you're done.
Yeah.
They'll give you a file.
Yeah.
Well, we can do a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
If you have an idea, we can help you shape and mold that idea into something that people are going to want to listen to.
Sure. Well, and that's where I think people need help. Last episode, we learned of some Yahoo who wanted to start or run XYZ mug company, and we talked about, in case we're not going to reprise that whole thing, but we were talking about starting from scratch on a podcast, and we'll talk a little bit more about how and where to do that as well. Not to summarize everything from last week, because go back to last week's show and check out what in fact we talked about there. It was some of the very first steps. In fact, where did we leave off? We were kind of like, okay, record it out there on a podcatcher, you said, and then what happens?
Well, yeah, okay. So a very bare bones way to do it. Take your phone. You have a voice recorder on your phone. You hit record. You do your 20-minute description of whatever whatever podcast, whatever idea that you're trying to convey out there. And then you want to send it to
I think that's where we left off last time.
Left off.
Tell about, Marjorie, the idea of a paid versus a free podcatcher, because we need some kind of technical intermediary to go from my voice recorder here to the internet.
So when you've recorded something, you've made an audio file, and then you have to find a place for that audio file to live.
Gotcha.
And so that's what's called a hosting service.
Hosting, okay.
And there are paid ones and there are free ones. And you just have to do a little research as to which one offers you the features that you're looking for, whether it's analytics or storage space or
What are analytics? Why do I care about analytics?
how many plays you're getting. That's kind of a fun number to look at.
Yes.
And then where people are listening from in the world.
Interesting. Yeah.
And then also how people are listening. So are they using the various podcatchers like Spotify or Pocket Casts, the app, or Apple
How
Apple
they're getting the
Podcasts?
content.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Yep. So how they're listening. And then there's other hosting services that'll let you embed like a player into your website. So that's how you can integrate it into
I love that.
keeping your website dynamic. And so all those features you have to consider. And then if you're using a free service, there's different things. When you're using something for free, you become the product. So whether or not you want to give up that amount of control in order to use a free service.
What am I giving up if I use a free service?
Well, some of them can put ads on,
on
your ad.
Let's say I have a podcast about peace and peace issues and non-resistance, and all of a sudden there's an ad for rifles and guns on my. You may not really want that.
Yeah, you can lose that control.
So you'll find with a lot of hosting companies.
Yeah, the hosting companies are the ones that we don't. you choose hosting companies.
Yes, yeah. So you
choose which one based on the features and services.
You're
What do you
choosing where-
recommend for your customers typically? I mean,
Well, it all depends.
and there's no
There are
two
so many
customers the
different-
same. I know.
There are
Yeah.
so many different levels with each hosting company. There's a bare bones level,
Okay.
The cheapest level, or you
Okay.
can have a very professional level, which is
Okay.
going to cost you a whole lot more.
Right,
It all
right.
depends on what you want out of it. There are so many different
What is it?
bits of information that you can get out of this and
Okay.
what they can offer you.
Sure. Well, what is an RSS feed, and do I have to care about that?
Yes.
I do.
So
Okay.
once
She's
you-
waiting for that question.
was because that's the component that
What does it stand for, and what does it do?
real simple syndication
Okay.
is what it stands for.
And my podcast host won't just handle all that stuff?
Kind of.
Kind of,
So when
okay.
you choose one, typically it'll provide you the RSS link. And
Okay.
what that link is, it's a whole bunch of information about your podcast, where the file is, where your artwork is, and it's telling these podcatchers where they can go and grab it.
Okay.
And so what you have to do, and what some of these hosting services will automatically do for you, is submit your RSS link to all the different podcatchers.
okay.
So then it's aggregated automatically.
Okay.
And
You
so,
want that, right?
Yes.
And how do you get that?
So you choose the service that provides it.
Okay. And you probably have to pay for that, I'm guessing.
Typically,
I mean,
yeah.
how much money are we talking about? I formed, last episode, I formed XYZ mug company, and my budget is pretty little. I just rambled for 20 minutes about the passion I had for making mugs, and I chose Spotify. Is that a podcatcher?
So
No, that's a delivery.
Spotify is a podcatcher, and so it is just reading RSS feeds and aggregating them.
Okay.
Your sound file lives on your host, so
Okay.
that's something like SoundCloud
Okay.
or Libsyn.
So I chose my SoundCloud host, but then I have to pay for, if I want the best, the
hosting.
Hosting.
And then
Okay.
you can submit to all these podcatchers for free.
Okay, gotcha.
Some hosting services will do that part for you, and you don't have to worry about it. But it is a pretty simple. It's just a little time-consuming process to go to each podcaster and just copy-paste your link in.
Sounds a little complex. I wish there was a company out there that would do this for me.
Really? Yeah.
Do you know of one?
That's what we do.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
verized, okay. Well, yeah, and we're not going to bury too deep in tech talk here, but in general, it's getting your content made, getting it hosted, choosing a, what did you call the next step?
A hosting service.
Hosting service, and then it's out there.
And then your hosting service either automates that process of getting it out there, or you go do it yourself. And then yes, it is out there. Then your friends and family can search for you
Yeah.
and find you.
Right. Before we talk about marketing my mug show,
Yeah.
let's talk about some of the quick tools you brought. Some of these tools. Last episode, you mentioned you held up your phone and you said,
That's right.
Everybody has what they need to start a podcast right here, if they have a voice recorder or an app downloaded.
Right.
Richard, tell us about some of this stuff and how it might help, or how you folks use it to do your thing.
Now, what we chose is the Rode Procaster kit.
Okay.
This is a
hold some of the pieces up.
Well, what we have here, this is an audio board that we have. This is a very user-friendly audio board.
Okay.
It's very simple. You hook up mics to it, and all you have to do is hit record, and everything is done for you.
Wow.
You don't have to worry about equalizing. You don't have to worry about.
That's nice.
There's a lot. There are a lot of audio functions that are built in to this audio board
Sure.
that you don't have to worry about.
And does your average basic podcaster need something like this or not?
Well, that depends.
How aggressive you want to be about it, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because it's not cheap.
No.
But there are other options as well.
Okay.
There are cheaper options.
Okay. What other toys do you have for your?
Well, we also
So there's cheap. Well, before I get, what would a cheaper option run, and how much, and what
It's like
size, and all that?
A mixer.
Well, yeah, you can get a mixer for. You could probably get a cheaper mixer for maybe in the price range of $300 to $400.
Okay. And that'll bring all the voices together and
Absolutely.
mix it out and equalize it out so the sound is good, right? Cool. What else do you have?
Well, we also have the Rode Procaster mic, which is a high grade.
Hold that bad boy up. There you go. And if I'm going to start a podcast, do I have to have something like this, or can I get by on my phone?
Not. There are much cheaper options you can get out there.
Yeah. Well, you're professionals. You have the good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, that's why I think another thing that sets us apart from.
Good point.
One of the things that we offer is high grade equipment.
We intentionally made the choice for this equipment because of the quality it provides.
And so I don't really want to ask you about prices for this stuff, because this is not where XYZ Mug Company is going to start.
Right, your general podcaster is not going to.
Right.
This is going to be too expensive for a general podcaster.
But if I'm an entry-level podcaster, the toys and tools I might need to sound a little bit better than my cell phone are $200, $300, $400. What?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, it varies. And
Again, I know how much you want to commit to it or how much you want to spend. But,
yeah.
But that kind of price range, or
Yeah. Oh yeah.
what would I get for that, Richard?
For $200-$300, you can get a low end audio mixer, a mic, headphones, and that's really all you need.
Okay, right. And how about if I want to have a guest? I want to bring someone else in. I can't plug 2 mics into my cell phone, so I have that mixer.
Well, actually, what you can use in that case is one of these.
Just happen to have it with me.
This is a Zoom H1N portable recorder,
Okay.
and
Audio
this
only,
this actually costs about $100,
Wow.
and
And what does it do for me?
it records. You can actually,
Really?
if you can see on the very end here, it has 2 mics that are actually hooked up into it. They're
Okay,
actually
I
2
see two.
directional
Oh,
mics,
okay.
right?
Oh, okay.
And so I can set this
That's a
up.
perfect guest, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
One mic's going this way and one mic's going that way. Perfect.
Again, you want to find a small room though.
Yeah.
And
Do I have
so,
to go in a canvas bag?
well, if you're using your phone, that's what I recommend, and just recording yourself. But if you're recording with a guest, find like a small conference room where you won't be disturbed,
Right.
and where there's curtains.
You don't want echoey, right?
Right. So
Okay.
you want curtains, you want textures in the room to help absorb the sound. And that will help your interview come across easier and make it less distracting for the listeners.
Sure. That's great, because I can have. Will this work for 2 people or 3 people, or better just
That
with
could
2?
work for a room of people, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Absolutely.
That's awesome, because I'm always struggling with my own sound equipment. I have a mixer, and it'll handle 4 mics, but you can learn from what not to do from me. I recorded my nephew's, not the wedding ceremony. I got about 20 testimonials after the wedding. Friends and family saying, "Oh, we love you," all those kind of things. It's great. It's a lot of fun. And the mistake I made, and you guys would laugh at this because you're pros, I had those 4 mics, and we used four people sometimes, families and things. But other times, set the 2 mics down and just had 2 people. And these other ones were live. And what happens at a wedding reception? Lots of background noise. So that kind of makes it folksy. But how would I avoid that? Would something like this help me?
Well,
Not
if
for video, I know,
you're
but-
using this, go find a quiet space.
Still
if
find a
you're
quiet
using,
space.
This XLR microphone, which is very directional,
Ah.
we use this out in the middle of a park during a music festival.
Really?
Yeah.
Although it did pick
Handheld,
up a
I mean,
little
or
bit
to
of
get the
background
music, or
noise.
go talk about it?
We had the bands come to a picnic table after they
Oh,
performed
interview, okay.
and did an interview.
Gotcha. Does it run on batteries?
Oh, luckily we had power source,
Oh,
so yeah, we're good.
Little details that
Yes.
behind the scenes sometimes people
Pre-planning.
don't think about.
Right.
So. Okay. Headphones. I need the headphones for what, or what? How does that help me?
The headphones actually, what you would need the headphones for is so you can hear exactly what's being recorded.
Okay. And so it kind of just filters out the rest of the.
Exactly. You know, a good sound filtering headphone is always essential because you're able to hear exactly what's being recorded. You can hear any pops. You can hear any whistles, wind.
Okay.
A lot of that thing can affect the quality of your audio.
And if you have one of these, you can sometimes adjust that stuff.
Absolutely.
And maybe real time even. Yeah. I've heard from Mike here at the KPO Studios how I say, well, gee, sometimes on television news channels, they have 6 or 8 people sitting around a table. And they're all mic'd up, and they're all jabbering, interrupting each other. And Mike says how that often has, a professional sound person working full time. bringing the mic volumes up and down, up and down, up and down. That has to be nerve-wracking.
It's called writing audio.
Okay, there you go. You're right up your alley, right?
What it is, you have different people who may be speaking at different level, may have different levels of speaking,
Okay.
and so you kind of have to
Oh,
write
yeah,
audio,
yeah.
or maybe
Good
they
point.
might get close up to the
Right, right.
the microphone.
Right.
It all depends. So
Sure.
sometimes you have to sit there and write audio.
Right.
If they're talking a little louder, you might want to bring them down,
Yeah.
or talk a little
We're
softer.
probably
you may want to
talking a
bring them
little
up.
over the head of Joe entry-level XYZ Cup right now.
But it does really reinforce the point of how important wearing headphones is while you're
Well,
recording.
yeah, it does. Yeah.
Because on most recording devices, you can see the levels that you're getting, the bars bounce up
right.
and down. But if your sound is too loud and you're overmodulating, you can't fix that.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So you want to.
you want to monitor your sound.
Thing. Well, I notice even performing artists on TV now all have an ear thing in, and they can hear themselves, right?
So they can hear themselves. They can hear some of the music that's being played as well.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. So they know how to. I mean, do they?
Yeah, they might have the drums and bass that are piped into their ears so they can stay on beat.
Well, that's important. Did you watch the Emmys? I saw a total of 3 minutes of it, and
I did not watch
And 3 whole minutes, and I don't even know her name. She got on to perform, and she started, and she was out of sync with her piano player.
Oh, no.
And it was just a piano player and her on this pedestal, and she had to start again. And the Emmys. So even the pros have their niches. Okay, we're backing away from the pros. We're back to XYZ Coffee Mug Company. And I now know some of my equipment and what I need to do with it to get out there. I think the easiest option is to call Weberized to put it all together. But thousands of people have figured it out. I'm sure there's 16-year-olds with podcasts that they have lots of success with, and of those 700,000, I'm sure there are a bunch that way. How do I get my podcast known? Now I have it on the hosts and on the catchers and all. How does anybody find me?
So that's basically phase 2. The first thing, get your friends and family to go and listen and have them share it. Like, work your circles, right? But the main work of it is your social media presence and how you're incorporating that. So there's a lot of things people use are called audiograms, and they just take like a tease, a quote, or a soundbite out of their whole podcast.
Okay.
Yep, and just make little clips with it
And put that on their social media?
Put that out on social media.
Do I have to know how to edit to do that?
A little bit.
A little bit.
There is a site.
You know, there's editing features on my phone.
Yeah. Oh,
on,
yeah.
on this very audio recording right now that we're using
Yeah.
right here as we
Yeah.
speak.
Chop
you
it
can
up.
see the bars bouncing up and down. There's an audio feature, and I didn't even download anything. It came with the phone.
Right.
And so it's it doesn't have to be that complicated.
It doesn't have to be
I think
that
a lot of people
complicated.
don't quite understand that.
Yeah.
They have the means to do it. It's right there in your hand. Everything you need is right there.
Well, why are young people so good at all the technology and social media stuff? Why? Because they don't care about failing. They just jump in and do it. People
very
my
good point.
age and who knows, 40 and over, I don't know, we worry about, it's going to break something or it's not going to work. And I think if we just get in and experiment, like you're saying, then we're going to learn it, right? And these tools aren't that complicated. So I've got my snippet.
Yes.
I recorded my conversation on my phone. Maybe I edited it, maybe I didn't, but I have a snippet. How do I get it onto LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat?
All of
And
them.
which ones do I want to put it on?
Well,
I know that's another 2-hour show, but
that's the number one question you have to ask yourself too, though, is like, what are your goals and what you're trying to accomplish? And so if it's brand awareness related to your business, you definitely want to upload it to LinkedIn and then Twitter. And if you're doing something that's event-based, definitely Twitter and live tweet a lot. Tweet while you're.
and you're big on Twitter for business?
I do like Twitter. I like to emphasize events and things that are happening in the moment, because Twitter
You're
is
right.
so
Twitter's
fast.
perfect for that. Yeah.
And then when it comes to Facebook, you can get a little more in depth with it. Maybe slightly longer posts.
Do I need to create a business page for my Facebook?
If you're a mug company, you definitely need Facebook presence. And
that's just not Paul Madsen Facebook. That's
right.
a XYZ mug company.
Right. You need your company.
How do I
there.
create a business page on Facebook?
Go to create page in the upper right side of the...
I'm serious because people are intimidated by these things, and I was at first myself, and that's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and Facebook has really streamlined how easy it is to create a business page. Just remember, you need like a profile image, and then you need cover image, and you're pretty much good to go.
I have a question backing up. So I have my snippet, I edited it on my phone, my chat with 30-second chat with you two, and I want to put it on my LinkedIn, which I do, and I will. How do I save that snippet somewhere so I can, when I open that open that Facebook or whatever, and it says, I can't remember the words it uses, but find a video or find audio or find a whatever. How do I save this snippet to my computer so I can find it and paste it into my social media?
So you're going to need some kind of extra app that lets you edit a short little video. I like to use, it was free, it's called Splice.
Okay.
GoPro made it.
Okay.
And so it'll let me add like a graphic, and then I can put the audio underneath, and then I just export it as a video.
Yeah.
And then for LinkedIn, I just send it to my desktop computer and upload on my desktop.
So when it asks you to upload, then you grab it out of your computer, documents or videos or whatever, paste it there, and all of a sudden I have a snippet, an audio I made on my phone, edited slightly, on LinkedIn. And of course I want to probably post it more than once and all that. And the world will beat a path to my door.
Not necessarily, but there are ways to get people to listen to you outside of the people that you may be friends with or you may be connected with on social media. There are other groups out there that you may want to become familiar with.
Well, absolutely.
I mean, there are, like, again, there may be a mug Facebook group.
Oh my gosh.
We'll create one if there's not. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
mug lovers.
Again, I wouldn't doubt if there was one.
It probably is.
So it's like real world networking that you're doing online.
Right.
Which is just as important. And it's important too to be authentic and your real self and not like super selly about it.
Right. And I've heard people say something like it's two or three parts advice and helpfulness, maybe one part salesy or whatever. And a lot of people don't even put any salesy stuff on there. They just hope to be helped. That's kind of the freemium model of this show. This is not a money-making thing. This is a placeholder. So that's what we do. Well, we have a whopping 30 seconds left. Marjorie, can you give us any kind of quick summary of what good social media strategies are there for people when they start this process?
Don't be afraid to do it and try it, test it, see what works, because everyone's audience is different. There's no set rule.
Lastly, Weberized, what can you do for me when my mug company? How can you help me?
We'll create your podcast.
Without all this, having to worry about this stuff. Well, that's great. Well, we'll have your contact information on the show notes, of course. And Marjorie, it's been great to talk to you.
Pleasure.
Richard, good to talk to you. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having us.
And that's a wrap for this week's show. I think this has been one of our most practical shows ever because I'm going to watch the show. It's a little webinar, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, and so I hope that's helpful for you. And you go ahead and get your voice out there, whether it's with your phone and a raw and rough thing, or whether you use professionals like Weberized. So thanks for joining us this week. Check out growmedia.com in order to find out how we can tell your unique story with video. And we'll see you next week. In the meantime, go on out and grow something.